Okay, so in this lesson we are going to look at simplifying algebra fractions. So algebra fractions are like these guys here. So we have an algebra expression that has a fraction in it. So these are what are known as algebra fractions. So we want to look at how to simplify them. So in other words, how to add them together or collect them up. So if we think about normal fractions, so let's say we have these two guys here. So we have these two fractions here, and we want to simplify it. So simplify just basically means we want to write it in its simplest form. So this is a quarter plus 2/4. Now what we can do with these, we can just add them together because they have the same denominator. So how does it work, or how do we add them up? So first of all, we get the highest common multiple, okay, for these two denominators. So the highest common multiple is going to be 4. And what we do is we take this number here at the bottom, we divide it into it, and then we multiply the top by the answer. So for example, the top is going to be 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1, and then 1 multiplied by 1 is just 1. Okay, so that's going to be 1 by 1 plus 4 goes into 4 once, and then 1 multiplied by 2 is going to be the next bit. So 1 multiplied by 2. So that if we do that, then it's going to be 1 by 1 is 1, and 1 by 2 is 2, and then we add the two of these together, and that's going to be 3/4. So I'm just highlighting this process because this is going to be the same process that we will use when we're adding together algebra fractions. So again, once the denominators are the same, we can add the numerators, or the numbers that's on the top. So if we have 1/4 on one side and then we have 2/4 and we add these together, we're going to end up with 3/4 using this process. Now, if we think about, let's say if we had something like this. So we have two different fractions. So we have 1/2 plus 1/3. Now, we can't add these together the way that they are because they are different fractions. They have different denominators. So the first thing we want to do is we want to identify what's the highest common multiple. So if we look at 2 and 3, we think about what's the biggest number that both of these will divide into evenly. And the highest common denominator is going to be 6. So if we follow exactly the same process that we followed up here. So we're going to take 2 divided into 6 goes 3 times, and then 3 multiplied by the top part is going to be equal to 1. So 2 into 6 goes twice. So it's going to be 2 multiplied by the top part, which is 1, plus 3 divided by 6 goes twice, and then 2 multiplied by the top part, 2 multiplied by 1. And that's going to be equal to, so 2 by 2 is 2 by 1 is 2, plus 2 by 1 is 2, and that's going to be equal to 4/6. So what we've done basically is we've taken each of these fractions, a half and a third, and we've turned them into equivalent fractions in sixths. So if we think about, for example, up here, so we have 1/2, so this is a half here. And we can see that 1/2, so a half, let me just put it here, so that a half is equivalent, or it's equal to 2/6. So see here we have sixths. So if we put two of these together, we can see that is a half is equivalent to 3/6. So this here should be 3. Let me just update this. Okay, so 2 into 6 goes 3 times, and then 3 ones are 1, and then 3 by 1 is 3, 2 by 1 is 2, so that's going to be, let me just update this here. So this will be, it's going to be 5/6, 5/6. So 3 by 1 is, okay, so it just needs to make an update there. So we can see that 1/2 is equivalent to 3/6. So for example, this is a half up here. And then if we take 3 of these sixths down the bottom, so these fractions here, 3 of those together, we can see that 3 of these together is equivalent to 1/2, which would be this amount here. And then likewise as well, if we take a third, for example, we change a third into sixths. So 1/3, so we can see here, let's say, so this is 1/3 here. So this is equivalent to two of these guys here, 2/6. So we can see that like we can't really compare a half and a third, it doesn't like compare evenly, but if we break the two of them down into sixths, we can see that they have, we can see the comparison between the two of them. And that's what we do here. So basically we identify the highest common multiple between these two numbers. We change them so that they're in sixths. So for example, a half is equal to 3/6, and that's what we got here. And we can say that a third is equivalent to 2/6. And then we can just add these together. So a half plus a third is going to be equal to 3/6 plus 2/6, which is going to be equal to 5/6. So that's, if you like, the process that we use in order to add fractions. Now what we want to do is we want to take this process and we want to add it to fractions that have algebra expressions as part of the fractions. So that's what we're going to look at now. So if we take these two examples here, so these are typical examples where you're asked to simplify these two fractions. So what that means is it means add them together or collect up the like terms. So again, we use exactly the same process that we use in order to add these together. So let's have a look and see how that would work. So the first thing we want to do is we want to draw our line down here. And we want to identify what's the highest common multiple between these two denominators here. So between, for example, 2 and 3. And if we think about the highest common multiple is going to be 6. So if we take, for example, the multiples of 2, so the multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And if we have a look here, we can see that the highest common multiple is 6. Okay, so we have 6 here and 6 is common to this. So these are the multiples of 2, the number 2 and the number 3. So we have what's called the highest common multiple, HCM, highest common multiple. So now what we do is we do exactly the same as what we've done over here. We want to add these two algebra fractions together. So we take the 2 and we divide it into 6. So 6 divided by 2 goes 3 times. So it's going to be 3. And then we multiply that by the top part of the fraction. So it's going to be 3 multiplied by 3x plus 4. Okay, so that's the first part. So we identify the highest common multiple, put it down here, divide the denominator on the first algebra fraction into it. The answer is 3, so 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then we multiply that by the top part, which is 3 multiplied by this. And then we do exactly the same here. So we do 3 divided by 6 goes twice, so it's going to be plus 2, multiplied by the top part, which is 2x minus 1. Okay, so that's the first step, if you like. Now what we want to do is we want to remove the brackets. So how do we remove the brackets? So we multiply this by this, this by this. Okay, so 3 by 3x, 3 by plus 4. And then we do this multiplied by this, and this multiplied by this. So let's have a look, and that's all going to be over 6. So it's going to be equal to, so 3 multiplied by 3x gives me 9x. So 9x, 3 multiplied by plus 4 gives me plus 12. 2 multiplied by 2x gives me plus 4x. And then 2 multiplied by minus 1 gives me minus 2 over, and this is all over 6. So now what we want to do is we want to collect up all the like terms and simplify it as much as we can. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So it's going to be, so we have 9x here, and we have 4x here, so we can add these together because they're like terms. So 9x plus 4x will give me 13x. And then we have plus 12 minus 1, sorry, plus 12 minus 2, that will give me minus 10 over 6. So that's the first one that we've done, okay? So that's adding these two algebra fractions. So let's just recap what we've done. So the first thing, you look at the two fractions and you look at the denominator or the bottom numbers in the fractions. We identify the highest common multiple. So the multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. The multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So we get the highest common multiple. So it's a multiple that's common to both of these numbers, 2 and 3. So the highest common multiple is 6. So we put the 6, draw our line, put our 6 down here. Then we take the denominator, divide it into 6. Okay, that gives us 3. And then we multiply our answer by the top part. So it's going to be 3 by this. We do the same here. So 3 into 6 goes twice. And then we multiply the 2 by the top part, which is what we've done here. Then we remove the brackets. So you multiply the number that's on the outside of the bracket by each of the terms that's on the inside. So that's what we've done. And that gets rid of the brackets. So you end up with an extended expression like this. Then you want to simplify it some more by adding up the like terms. So we've added up the 9x and the 4x gives us 13x. And the 12 and the minus 2 gives us minus 10. Sorry, that should be actually plus 10, should I say? Let me just update that. So that should be plus 10. So plus 12 minus 2 leaves us on plus 10. And then that's all over 6. Okay, so that's that type of fraction. So we add them together. Again, we use the same process we use when we're adding together normal fractions. So let's have a look at this next one. So this next one is a little bit different in that you have the algebra parts, or the variables like x, for example, at the bottom or as the denominator. But again, we use exactly the same process. So let's have a look at how we do this. So the first thing we want to do is draw our line. And we want to work out, so what is it that x plus 4 and x minus 1 will divide into evenly? Now we can multiply them by each other and get a quadratic expression, but the easiest way to do this is just we can have the denominator, or the highest common multiple, as x plus 4. So now, x plus 4 multiplied by x minus 1. Okay, so that's the way we lay it out. So we just take these two algebra expressions and we multiply them by each other and we leave it like that as the denominator. So it's kind of equivalent to if we take, let's say, 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3. So the highest common multiple between these two is equal to 6. So we could write 6 down the bottom. But another way to write this, so instead of writing 6, we could just as easily write the factor pairs. So we could, instead of writing 6, we could just represent it like this. So 2 multiplied by 3. So then 2, so we can represent it like this. So for example, this 2 will cancel out with this 2, and then 1 multiplied by 3, so this 2 will cancel out with this 2, and then you just have, it'll go into it, so 2 into 2 goes once, and then you're just going to have 3 multiplied by 1, so 3 multiplied by 1 plus and then if we take, for example, 3 will divide, so 3 will cancel out with this 3, and then 2 multiplied by 1. So that's going to give us 3 by 1 is 3, 2 by 1 is 2, so that's going to give us 5 over 2 by 3, which is equal to 5 over 6. Okay, so that's the same way, like we can, instead of just using 6 as the highest common factor, we can use the factor pairs of 6 as well. Okay, so we can do this just as easily as we can do this. So that's going to be the same process that we use here. That's why we're making the highest common multiple between these two just x plus 4 multiplied by x minus 1. So now what we can do is we can divide it in. So if we take, so x plus 4 divided by this is going to give us, it's just going to leave us with x plus x minus 1. And then we multiply that x minus 1 by 2, and it'll just look something like this. 2 multiplied by x minus 1 plus, we do the same here. So x minus 1 divided by this will just leave us with x plus 4. And then we multiply that by 3. So it's going to be 3 multiplied by x plus 4, like so. So now what we want to do is we want to remove the brackets. So again, we just multiply it out. So it's going to be 2 by x gives me 2x. 2, so it's going to be this by this, this by this, this by this, and this by this. So 2 by x gives me 2x, 2 by minus 1 gives me minus 2, 3 by x gives me plus 3x, and 3 by 4 gives me plus 12. Okay, so it's going to look something like that, and then that's all going to be over x plus 4 multiplied by x minus 1. And then we just simplify the top part by adding up all the like terms. So you have 2x plus 3x gives me 5x, and minus 2 plus 12 gives me plus 10. Plus 10. And that's all going to be over x plus 4. Well, actually, if we multiply these out as well, so you're going to be, so x by x gives me x squared, x by 1 gives me minus x, 4 by x gives me plus 4x, and 4 by 1 gives me minus 4. And then if we simplify this, let me just get rid of this up here, so we have a bit of space to work. So if we simplify this, and let me just bring this over here, it's going to be 5x plus 10 divided by, so it's going to be x squared, so we're just simplifying the bottom part, minus x plus 4x gives me plus 3x, and then minus 4. Okay, so it looks something like that. So that's how we, if we take this algebra fraction, that's how we add these together. So let's just recap what we've done. So we have these two algebra fractions. The algebra part is the denominator in this case. So what we do is we make this multiply by this. That's the highest common multiple. Then we divide this by this. So that gives us minus 1. So for example, this plus 4, x plus 4 will cancel out with this x plus 4, and it leaves us with x minus 1. So we take the x minus 1 and we multiply it by 2. So that's what we've done here. We do the same here. So x minus 1 divided by this leaves me with x plus 4. And then we multiply that by the top part, which is 3 times x plus 4. So we end up with something that looks like this. We remove the brackets by multiplying the term on the outside by each of the terms on the inside on both. So we end up with this. Okay. Then we simplify the top part by adding up the like terms. That gives us this. Then we remove the brackets from the bottom part by multiplying these out. So that leaves us with that. And then we simplify this by adding up the like terms, and it gives us this. So when we add these two fractions together here, we get, so when we add these two fractions, we get, this is the answer here. Okay. So that is simplifying algebra expressions by adding them together. So we use exactly the same process we use when we are adding normal fractions together, and we just have, it's just the same process that we use when we're adding algebra fractions together. Okay, so thank you for listening.